This is a quick hit video. In these videos, I will provide my impressions, experiences, and observations of a product, all in about 5 minutes. This is not a substitute for the full review, but ongoing updates until the full review is done, or supplemental updates to reviews previously completed. You have probably noticed the recent R2R hype and poetic nostalgic commentary throughout the audiophile community about these types of DACs. A few years ago, Drop even got into this when they partnered with Arist Audio and released the Drop Arist R2R DAC. I have a few R2R DACs, including the Arist R2R, Musician Pegasus, Border Patrol DAC, and the Hifi Men R2R Red. I've been meaning to do a review of all of these things, but kept putting it off. A few weeks ago, a Denafrips distributor called Vinshine Audio reached out and asked if I wanted to try the Aries 2. And, of course, I said yes. Finally, it is here. I've got plenty of time on Delta Sigma DACs, and obviously they measure very well. But they aren't really providing anything new with each subsequent iteration. Today's topping or SMSL DAC does not have better audible sound quality than what they released 4 years ago. But R2R DACs have a lot of mysticism. They're old school. They've got a following similar to that of tube amps and DACs. Those who do not understand the fad will not be swayed by the poetic rhetoric behind R2R DACs. These types of DACs deserve a close examination. After all, if there is some audible difference, then it is worth investigating. Having said all this, I'm quite excited to pit the Aries 2 against my Delta Sigma DACs and compare it to my other R2R DACs. Denafrips is mentioned quite regularly in forums that discuss R2R DACs. The Aries is also spoken with some respect. And now that I have a chance to try it myself, I am surprised at the build and R2R feature sets of this DAC. The Aries 2 is built like Thor's hammer. It's robust, heavy, and imposing. You don't get modern doodads like an LCD screen or copper-colored buttons or knobs. This is an industrial design. As for the features I mentioned, the Aries 2 comes with both oversampling and non-oversampling modes. And when in oversampling mode, the Aries 2 has 2 selectable filters. The Aries 2 has both balanced and single-ended output. It is true balanced architecture as far as I can tell from the website. There's a plethora of input options, including USB, 2 coaxial, and 2 optical. The Aries 2 has positive and negative phase selection. The instructional video mentions that you can use either and find out which sounds better on your system. Finally, there's a mute button which doubles as a mode selector pre-toggle. The build, connectivity, and features of this R2R DAC are pretty robust. As R2R DACs go, this is a bludgeoning tool. The people at Vinshine Audio asked that I keep the Aries on for 10 days for burn-in. I've already made my opinion about burn-in very clear in the past. I am unconvinced it does anything. But since I test gear for a month or longer, it's really irrelevant in my case. My initial impression of the Aries 2 is that it sounds like a perfectly good DAC. Not wanting to start the test just yet, after all, this thing was delivered only 2 days ago, I figured I'd have a bit of casual demo time. I have currently plugged it into the K9 Pro using the XLR output. The K9 Pro does not have an XLR input, but it does have a balanced 4.4mm input, so I use my custom 4.4mm to dual female XLR cable. As you might imagine, no problems connecting the two. The Aries popped up on my Windows 11 PC without difficulty. The OS immediately recognized the Aries 2. Denafrips encourages you to download the latest Thesicon drivers from their website, and I did. Using my HD 800S, I have been browsing Amazon Music HD's recommendations for hours. Denafrips says on their website that the R2R DACs, and particularly the Aries 2, will present music with emotion, comfort, high fidelity, transparency, and additive musicality, the likes of which common mainstream integrated DAC chips cannot match. And, of course, you will find plentiful opinions one way or another about the efficacy of such descriptions. Listening to the Aries, I have not really been smacked in the face with additive musicality, whatever that's supposed to mean. But truthfully, I have felt emotion. I'm skipping boring tracks, enjoying upbeat rhythms, and basking in a few new tracks I'm glad I've stumbled onto. Obviously, I'm going to do thorough A/B tests. Maybe I will hear a difference between R2R DACs and Delta Sigma DACs, and maybe I won't. But ultimately, a DAC's job is to decode digital to analog. If a DAC is capable of somehow audibly affecting the original signal, then it's a notable outlier. But if it doesn't, then it's still a perfectly good DAC, barring some usability shortcomings. Here, with the Aries 2, after only about a few hours of use, I cannot make any conclusions, except that the Aries, K9, and HD800S combo sounds perfectly good.